Hello my friends! Today I will show you the whole process of a connection session in Extasium with all the effects that it gives me. This lead ambience already gives me an impression fairy tale, where I am already in another world of wonder. This is what prepares me for the Extasium, where I will go now. When I enter the Extasium, I am completely locked in my space-time capsule. I start first by looking at all this and impregnate myself of this construction that I find so beautiful, and every time it has an extraordinary effect on me. I will look at the time. I absolutely need to know the time. It's absolutely no use to me. But I have this need, and besides in my thought there will be only that. Normally I would be completely in the dark. But in what I will show, I film myself in full light so you can see how intense it is. It is even impressive. It looks like I'm being tortured, but it's not that at all. It is only enjoyment, only orgasm, only love. This is what I experience every evening in my session. Now I start the music. I dive into the dark, others start the music. From the first notes, I feel a current of energy starting in the middle of my back and making me make these strange sounds. We are intended to draw in energy, which gives me a much stronger feeling of love than the sexual act. After an orgasmic rise that will be repeated several times, I go through seemingly calm but very intense phases internally. These violent movements of the head are intended to sterilize the faint ball of light that fills my brain by considerably intensifying the pleasure I feel, far beyond anything I had felt before, and that I call supreme happiness. At times, I can't even hear the music anymore, which nevertheless continues to activate a geometric shape that appears in the center of the ball of light. It has the shape of a diamond crystal in vertical rhombus. Its center seems to be located at the pleasure center. I call it the celestial diamond. It becomes a ball, a cross, an eye, an equilateral triangle, etc. It's as if I could see my neurons light up. The process is repeated every night in the same way, but with subtle changes. That makes what I feel is always different. I specify that this extraordinary phenomenon is caused first by contemplating the painting in front of me, which I remind you is the result of my analysis of the book of Revelation. Then by the so particular sound sent by the speakers that I designed and that I named the Yeo Energy. The seats are ordinary cinema seats that I transform for acoustic reasons. I sit in the middle, not only to benefit from the stereo, but above all because their edges press on each side of the spine when I move back in my seat. I can then press on the different sensitive areas that send me like sprays of strong pleasure, amplifying even more this orgasmic sensation. I ultimately move to the edge of the seat so that my spine is straight. I feel it vibrate up and down like a taut string with a momentary energy which goes up and down to the head and then to the coccyx. The more sessions I do of connection, the more the effects intensify. When the music stops, I stay about 2 minutes perfectly still, the spine well stretched. I take the opportunity to show you some pictures extracted from the kaleidoscopes my cinema paintings, offering a glimpse into the world of beauty, geometric, expressed by the painting The Gate of Ecstasy. With time and experience, you will be able to feel more and more these fabulous effects. I get up with a clear head. I turn off the electronic devices and goes to my room for the second part of the session. Normally, the room would be in the dark. I put down my phone and the glass of Rooibos. I sit so that my spine is straight. Immediately begins the second and shortest phase, 1 to 2 very intense minutes where the energy is concentrated in my head in the form of a ball of light, which can sometimes concentrate and be surrounded by a ring colored in red, gold or other and becomes very bright. This strange sound is an inspiration of the energy coming from another dimension. This phase, very intense, lasts from 1 to 2 minutes, with the impression each time that it takes much longer. If I compare the connection session to a rocket, the first part in the Extasium would be like the first stage, which propels the spacecraft into another dimension. What we just saw would be the second stage. Now, it will be the third stage that will make the trip, which takes place in 3 phases of about 20 minutes each. I am barely lying down when the phenomenon starts. I have no idea what the words I say mean. I do not feel invaded by another entity. It is still me, but an intermediate me, which only appears in the ascending phase. It's always different and sometimes silent and very quiet. This continuous sound reminds me of an elevator that takes me to another dimension. Lying down, all muscles are relaxed. I feel in these moments the sensation of being a third self, totally different from my earthly being. I am a ball of light in another dimension. At times, especially in the third phase, I feel a slight sting on my right or left foot, and I turn into a suction machine that fills me of this divine energy of love. This continuous sound is a kind of orgasm, manifesting the arrival of the divine energy on earth, like all of the other sounds emitted during the session. I can also feel these things on other parts of the body. Every time I feel a touch, no matter how light it is, I have the feeling that it is an external intelligence that manifests itself and invites me to suck it in. It is during the first phase of this part that appear to me creative inspiration or thoughts about the structure of the universe. My mouth being dry, I drink a little Rooibos. In the second phase, I am constantly in the non-thinking. That I can't describe as I am in bliss. As soon as I lie down, the phenomenon is immediately repeated, always very intensely, to bring me to a level of higher consciousness where I become again this luminous ball that I think is the soul. It is especially in the third phase, after having drank again, that these geometrical forms appear to me again that I had perceived at the very beginning of the session. The same process of the first phase is repeated twice, which each time the rise elevator, then a period apparently quiet with complete stillness and no noise. This session has lasted nearly an hour as usual, but it happened that it lasts until 2 hours of absolute happiness. As the phases were similar in appearance, I cut them off and the long periods of silent immobility. Do not forget that this strange and extraordinary phenomenon is caused only by listening to an exceptional sound and the brief vision of the painting The Gate of Ecstasy, representing the gate in the sky described at the beginning of the book of Revelation. When the session ends, I am perfectly lucid, calm and relaxed, still in another beneficial universe. I hope you enjoyed this demonstration and that you would like to share my fabulous destiny. Also, I invite you to join the Extasium Owners Club. This is my bedroom where I live these fantastic moments. The blue and red panels are memories of my research on sounds that made me experiment with many materials to arrive at the 93rd version of the Extasium and 37 years of research. The supreme happiness is the sensation superior to any other to perceive and feel God by His divine energy of love. That's how I feel every night, and that I wish to share with you. I would like to clarify that also the realization of the extasium is based on an analysis of the book of Revelation, the last book of the Bible. The experience that you have just seen happens beyond any belief, ritual, or prayer. It is a purely material and physiological phenomenon. A sound wave loaded with high-dode purified harmonics acts very subtly on the whole body and mainly on the spine and on the eardrum. This action is strongly reinforced by the contemplation of this very special painting, the Gate of Ecstasy, which is a kind of very active mandala. The combination of sight and hearing activates the celestial diamond, that immaterial and purely energetic form that I discovered at the pleasure center in the middle of the brain. It only needs to be excited for a few minutes for its action to continue for an hour or average. It is him who diffuses the waves of enjoyment and who captures those coming from another dimensions. He would also animate and control the brain. It is through the surprising action of this exceptional artistic creation that I met and felt the divine energy. If the spectators of the show version will be able to feel a strong sensation of well-being, only the privileged owners of Extasium will be able to hope to reach the level of divine enjoyment extremely intense that I experiment each evening and that you have seen.